Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to review South Park Season 27, Episode 2, Got a Nut. I really like this episode a lot. It was funny because last week I got really disappointed that we had to wait another week for this episode. I always hate that, like when a new show comes out and they give you an episode and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, you got to wait 2 weeks for the second episode. Like, that's always like a, like a WTF thing. Like, I really don't understand, too. I've come to hate this more and more, like why TV shows like postpone episodes. Unless there's some sort of like a 9/11 that happened, like I don't think that a TV episode should ever be postponed. I think that people should just catch up when they can, because that's why we have streaming services now. It's not like TV episodes just air once and then you never see them again for years and years like the olden days, or you have to see them on a rerun. Like, you can watch it the next week, the next day, etc., etc. So I really don't like the whole thing where they postpone episodes. And I know that that's like a minor gripe, but I just still wanted to mention it. So anyways, this episode it's kind of a parallel story. First off, you have Mackey's story, and then you have Clyde's story. And the thing that I loved about this episode, just like last week, I love how mean-spirited South Park has gotten. I think that, again, all that stuff that they did with, God, what's that guy's name? I apologize. I cannot remember his name right now. When they did the whole Trump story, but with the other teacher, I really didn't like how, I don't know, like it just kind of felt like weak, and it felt like they weren't going as hard as they could have. And obviously they didn't really make fun of the last president we had. And I really am glad that the show has returned to being very mean-spirited and personal. And, if I was like the people who made South Park, then Safi would say I'm doing personal attacks. People would say I'm being really, really mean. I think that society is at a point where we need mean-spirited humor. I think that we need mean-spirited humor because a lot of people who have gotten to where they've gotten and have done really bad things in the process and are still doing bad things, I think that they need to be put in their place. And so that includes the government, it includes the politicians, and so I'm really glad that this show is putting people in its place, in their places, because the satire here, it's satire, but it's kind of just showing what people are actually like. It's kind of just showing the reality. It's like a mirror to society. It's like a giant mirror. And, even if it's really, really mean, it's also really hilarious and true. And I think that it's the best show that we have for the time period that we're in right now. Like, out of all the things that have happened this year, I think that South Park is the best thing that's happened for our country and for the world. And everyone should be made fun of. And even, it's funny because this episode, a lot of people could say that, like, it's just poking fun at Charlie Kirk, and it's just making him out to be an idiot. But really, it's not fully doing that. Like, the only people who they're really, really hammering are, like, Kristi Noem and Trump and his stupid vice president, J.D. Retard Vance. They're definitely saying that those people are irredeemable pieces of shit. But, it's not full on, like, oh, just fuck everyone. It's like, No, like they do show that, like, I guess you could say these debaters are master debaters, and of course I love that whole thing. Uh, but okay, so number one, you have Mackey. He gets fired because children don't need a counselor anymore. They can just read the Bible, which is a violation of the separation between church and state. Church shouldn't be in schools, and so I love how that is continuing though in the show. That was my big concern last week, was that, like, oh, I hope that they just don't drop this and that they just forget about all of this stuff. Like, I hope that this stuff continues throughout the whole season, and that, like, maybe the next couple of years until those people are gone, hopefully, from office. And but anyways, he gets fired, and so he needs to find a new job, and he finds the ICE recruitment video and the flyer and everything, and so he joins them. And so it's just really funny because years and years ago, you never would have pictured Mackey rounding up brown people and then sending them to concentration camps. Like, you never would have pictured that. I would also like to say, by the way, I would encourage people, because I think that a lot of people used to think that I was just, like, hating on the show or something when I was criticizing the bad episodes, like Mexican Joker, and then there was that one that I hated, and it was, I can't remember what it was called, but it was in the season with the Mexican Joker. Well, I want you guys to go back and watch that episode, and then watch this episode, and compare them. And you can see, like, a weak episode versus a great episode. Like, that episode, like, just, the satire was not great. And it was just kind of like, oh, we want to make fun of this stuff, but there's not a lot of good jokes that we got. Whereas in this episode, I thought that this episode was actually funnier than episode 1. I laughed a lot more. I thought that it was a lot more like a laugh per minute, like, whereas last week it was kind of like, okay, here we go. And there were some big laughs that were kind of spread throughout that episode. But yeah. So another thing we should talk about is how they make Kristi Noem look. I mean, wow. You can tell that they hate her, and for good reason. And so I loved all the stuff with her killing all the puppies and the cats and everything. And I loved it when they rated Dora the Explorer live, the live experience. You guys want to know something? I actually went to a Bob the Builder live experience as a kid. That's the live experience that I went to. I went to a Bob the Builder. And I used to love Bob the Builder. I think that Bob the Builder, I love that claymation that they did with him. And yeah, that's just a little side note. But they make her look terrible. They have it where her face, like, wants to leave her body, and it, like, runs away from her body, and she constantly has to have, like, a team of people, like, making her look good when she looks like a monster. And I gotta say, the one thing I gotta criticize them on, I think that they should have made her look grosser. Because the one thing about her that I didn't really see them do is with the eyes. In real life, she's ugly as hell. She looks terrible. She looks like a piece of shit in human form. But her eyes are very, like, sunken into her face. Like, they're very skinny, and they're, like, sunken inwards because the plastic is, like, inflated, and so she always looks like her eyes are, like, sunken in, like she's, like, trying to do an Asian face or something. And so I think that they should have had that. They just gave her, like, regular eyes, and I really think that did a disservice to how ugly she actually is in real life. And so that's the one thing that I would say about her. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I need to say about her except for she's a fucking retard. But anyways, what ends up, I would say also with Mackey, I wish that we could have seen more of him, like, talking with these immigrants, like, talking to them back and forth, like, trying to be, like, a counselor or something. Like, because basically what he would do is he would just put people in a van and say, hey, I'm just trying to get my nut, okay? And I wish that we could have seen, like, maybe like an immigrant is like, holed up in his house and he's got like the doors locked and everything, and maybe they let Mackey like, I don't know, like negotiate with him, like maybe there's a hostage situation or something, like I don't know. Obviously, I'm not trying to say, like, I just wanted to see like more of like him like having these conversations, because later on he has like a big conversation with Clyde, who is the other main character in this episode, and that was a very like meaningful moment in the story. But I wish we could have gotten a little bit more of that, because I think that, it wouldn't have necessarily have been like funnier, but I think that it could have added another like good character moment, because like what ends up happening is that they actually raid heaven for immigrants, for illegal immigrants. And that scene was what you call great satire, and that was perfect. That was great. I loved that. And I loved how, they asked like the immigrants, like, what did you do that was so bad, and what did you do to get here? And the guy was like, oh, I helped people and I gave to charity, and I thought that was funny. But yeah, he ends up getting an invitation to Mar-a-Lago. And so now let's talk about the second storyline. The second storyline was Clyde. And Clyde is basically, he has a podcast. He's like a Charlie Kirk, but he doesn't look like that. And Cartman gets mad that he is stealing his shtick. So Cartman, I love the moment where Cartman just pulls on up and he just fucking beats the shit out of Clyde. Like, I just love that part, because it was like, Cartman, he's such a mean and stupid person, stupid character, but he's also so cool. And he's so kind of like, he has like epic, iconic character status. So I just loved how he just pulls up and he beats the shit out of Clyde. He takes over his entire show, and everyone's just like, oh, okay. And so he is the one, he has made himself look like Charlie Kirk, which I would also agree with people that they didn't go hard enough on his ugly appearance. But I love that. I think my favorite scene with him was when he was taking a shit, and his mom was trying to get him to go to bed, and he's like, I got a master debate for 3 more hours. I thought that was great, and it's like the wording, too, of like, I've got to destroy these young college girls. They have no idea what's coming. It's just all this, like, just, it's so funny. I loved it. But what ends up happening is that there's like a Charlie Kirk award, which I don't think that exists, thankfully, but it probably will in the next couple of years. And who knows who will win. But Clyde ends up winning the award out of nowhere, which I thought was great too, because honestly, this whole episode was about, they started off with Clyde and Mackey having a conversation, because Mackey was trying to, talk to Clyde about, oh, you think you're doing this podcasting stuff? You think that's a good idea? You should be nice to people, okay? And it all is like a full circle, where at the end of the episode, Clyde wins a trip to Mar-a-Lago, and so then him and Clyde have another conversation where, now Mackey has gone through this experience, and he's like, making a nut, having a nut, is there's a lot more important things than that. And, like, but he's basically saying, like, even though, like, we all, want to, make our nut, you don't want to end up doing something that you don't believe in. You don't want to end up doing something that's bad. And there's also a very funny moment where they show Dora, and she is giving a massage to some sort of an old man. And so that was definitely the creators, their indirect way of saying that, like, Mar-a-Lago is, like, a pedophile resort, because, like, because Dora is supposed to be like a, like a young girl. And so, yeah, I won't say anything more about that, but that was definitely their way of saying that without fully saying it, so that they wouldn't get in legal trouble. And so I thought that was great. So the episode ends with them escaping Mar-a-Lago, and then all of a sudden, they have this song that comes on, and it was a song that kind of sounded like the White Lotus's theme song. So I thought that was great. So yeah, I would give this episode an A+. The only thing that I would say, and this just all depends on how much you find it funny, because I know there's a lot of people, they probably didn't find the whole master debater thing funny. I thought it was hilarious. But the one thing that I would say is that they did a lot of repetition with the whole, making your nut. My nut keeps getting bigger. The thing is, like, once you make more money, your nut gets bigger. Like, all that kind of stuff. I didn't think that was very funny. And I think that they repeated that joke a little bit too many times. And this is what happens with South Park, too. Is the creators, they'll come up with like a joke, like a simple joke, and they'll just hammer that joke in like a million billion times, to the point of where, if you found it funny the first time, you're probably gonna, find it funny the rest of the times, like with Kirsty Gnome's face, with the puppy killing stuff, with all those reoccurring jokes. But then there might be some other jokes where you're like, okay, that wasn't very funny. Like, Mackey needs to make his nut. Like, okay, like, it's not, like, extremely funny. But again, like, this was still, I would say, a perfect episode. I would say that these first two episodes have been, like, incredible. And it's also really funny, too, because over Comic-Con, the creators actually admitted that teaser trailer that they made was full of fake episodes. So we are not going to get to see the boys, like, flying in space with Diddy. We are not going to see Kyle turning into a Thanksgiving turkey. And so I thought that was hilarious. I actually do the same thing. I think that, the best way to make trailers that don't really show you what's going to happen in the movie is by shooting new footage, or by shooting stuff or using footage that exists that, could kind of, point people in a million different directions. Because you never want to have, like, trailers, like, just run people through the entire movie. I feel like trailers, they do that a lot nowadays. And it's a huge mistake, because it makes me feel like I've already seen the movie before I've seen it. And with this show, I just love that, like, they did this whole, like, bait and switch where they said, we're not going to talk about Trump this year. There's nothing more we can say. And then they released that fake trailer, and then they're like, no, actually, we're gonna make this season like a giant middle finger to just society. And so I love that. I think that's great. The show does not feel dated either. Like, I think that it feels like honestly, like, they did all the pop culture stuff in the early 2000s with, like, Saddam and Jennifer Lopez and all that stuff. And that stuff, when you look back at the early South Park, that doesn't feel dated. It feels timeless, because it's all about the comedy. It's not about, like, okay, we're making fun of vaccines, we're making fun of, the government. It's all about, are you being funny? are you telling really good jokes? Like the one joke, this was my favorite part of the episode. Remember that troll from World of Warcraft? You know that fat guy who, kept on like harassing the kids, and they finally ended up beating him. Well, he joins us. And I thought, wow, that was a superb joke. Like the fact that like they're like, no, we're gonna go all the way back seasons and seasons and years ago, and we're gonna take that guy, we're gonna make him an ICE agent. Like, that's hilarious. I love that. I thought that was so creative. And again, it just shows you how creative these guys are. And it shows that, like, what if they said, oh, well, we can't make more than 5 seasons of South Park because we don't want to overstay our welcome? What would have happened? We wouldn't have gotten all these great episodes. And it just goes to show you, once again, when you say, like, oh, you can't overstay your welcome with TV shows, all you're doing is putting restrictions on your creativity. Nothing more, nothing less. So, I would also like to mention really quickly, if you're still here, I have just started a Patreon page, and we are going to have movie reviews, TV reviews, bonus videos, commentaries, video game reviews. We are going to have behind-the-scenes videos because if you guys don't know, I am an indie filmmaker. I have just finished my first short film. It is a 38-minute mindfuck. And I have also been working on a Goosebumps fan series, which is going to be a little bit, it's going to be adult-oriented. It's going to be for the people who grew up watching Goosebumps instead of gearing it towards kids. Because I think that's been the big problem with Goosebumps, is that there's all these adults who love Goosebumps, and it feels like the adults are constantly left out, and all they're trying to do is trying to get new kids into Goosebumps. And I wish that they would do both. So that's what my show is going to do. And then I'm also working on 2 other movies, and I have a vlog that takes you behind the scenes in making all these projects. And it is called How to Make a Goosebumps Fan Series. And it stars me. So you have to like me if you want to watch it, unfortunately. Or fortunately for you. So yeah, I have the Patreon is called Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies. And it is going to be epic. All the content we're going to put on there, it is going to be so much better than this channel, in the sense that it's really going to feel a lot more personal. I think that, over the years, there's been kind of a disconnect between me and the audience, because, you're just seeing a picture of the show or movie that I'm reviewing. And on Patreon, we're going to be doing videos where we show our faces. We're going to be doing all these behind-the-scenes videos. And so you're going to feel a lot more connected to us, and you're going to get great stuff. So, go ahead and go join up if you want. There's 3 tiers, the $5 tier, $15 one, or the $25 one. And no matter which tier you join, you will get your name put in the credits of my projects, which I would say is going to be a big deal for you. Okay, can you imagine you're in the credits of a Marco Carlson production? Not a lot of people can say that. In fact, only 3 or 4 people can say that. So yeah. And please like this video and comment and tell me what you thought of the episode. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest South Park reviews. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon for Master Chef.